Hello and welcome to episode 10 of Painting with Stephen. Thank you for joining me today. Good morning, afternoon or evening depending on where you're watching this, and let's get right into it. So, this is a pretty exciting one. So this is Fingal's Cave. Now, originally I'd meant this painting to more just be a fantasy painting from imagination of a sea cave. But then I sort of took inspiration from Thomas Moran, the great Thomas Moran of the Hudson River School, contemporary of Thomas Cole, another fantastic painter from the Hudson River School. And, you know, yeah, they were known for doing these incredible, like dramatic landscapes, with this incredible sort of post-romantic drama. And Fingal's Cave, which I visited multiple times on the Isle of Staffa, it really did garner a lot of attention back in these days from artists, painters, musicians, writers, just for its incredible majesty, and famously inspired Mendelssohn's Hebrides Overture, inspired Thomas Moran to paint his painting of Fingal's Cave also. So, as Michael, if you're watching this, as you would say, M. Francis McCarthy, my friend over on the channel M. Francis McCarthy, a great painter, would say I'm riffing it. I'm riffing from Thomas Moran's work of Fingal's Cave. But I still like to imagine that this isn't really Fingal's Cave. And I know that sounds very, very strange, but obviously this is clearly based off Fingal's Cave, right? But I still like to imagine that this is actually, like on some weird fantasy realm, and that this is actually more of a, this mysterious cave that could be enchanted with magic, or have all of this drama taking place inside it. Not that the original cave, of course, Fingal's Cave, does not have drama, because it is incredibly dramatic when you go visit it, and I recommend to everyone that can to do so. I mean, it is just absolutely incredible. I mean, what I will say though is that it's a choppy boat ride. And when I was visiting it, I wanted to play Hebrides Overture in my headphones, but all you heard was just people throwing up everywhere, right, left and centre. And the people that ran the boats, they were so used to it that they were just scooping it up with their hands and throwing it overboard. So if you don't like choppy sea, then maybe don't do that, but I think it's absolutely worth it. Fingal's Cave, I think it's an incredibly dramatic sea cave. It's if you've seen the sort of the geological formations that make up the Giant's Causeway in Ireland. It's a very, very similar idea in the sense that it's stacks of rock, which I painted in acrylic. I'm really loving this acrylic first thing. I'm really liking doing sort of like a lot of the detail work in acrylic now, and then adding oils in with a subsequent layer just to give it that texture and colour that, of course, we all know and love when it comes to oils. Oh, I want to show you this, right? I use that to clean out my brush. That's why I showed the camera there, because, you don't see what I'm actually doing in the background. I set up a Bob Ross style rack, you know how Bob Ross, beats the devil out of it with his brush, Well, years and years ago, I tried to create a contraption so that I too could beat the devil out of my brushes. And I sat day and night, going, oh, how am I going to do this, how am I going to figure out, how to create this marvellous contraption, this incredible piece of human ingenuity. And then I came up with the idea of getting a bucket and putting, essentially an old grill, from a the grates on a grill inside it, so that I can, use thinner on my brushes and then beat the devil out of it with the grill inside the bucket. It's a perfect way to do things. Okay, so if you're looking, if you have a home studio, you're a beginner artist, and you're looking for a way to clean your brushes while painting, I would highly recommend that method. But yeah, still plodding away with this guy here. What's very important to note, by the way, about this is the blues. In fact, pretty much every single colour in the sky. But like I've said in previous videos, the blues are very, very, very muddied, okay? Because I wanted the blues to be subdued. You have to remember this. If you go straight in with a Prussian blue, or an ultramarine blue, or God forbid a phthalo blue, it's gonna be extremely powerful. Saturated is the word I'm looking for, and it's gonna distract the viewer from other things that are going on, right? It depends what look you're going for. Okay, obviously, one of the great things about oil paint straight out the tube is that you can get these extremely amazing saturated colours, and you can use them very, very effectively, depending on what creative endeavour you're planning to use them for. However, in something like this, where you want that, for example, pink in the cloud to pop, you do not want your blues to be extremely saturated, okay? Every single thing in that sky has umber in it, okay? Even the pink has umber in it, just to dial it back, okay? And see the sea colour that I'm putting in, that dark blue? That is Paynes Grey, umber and blue. It's almost got more umber in it than blue, right? And this is, especially for people beginning, their painting journeys, that can be a quite hard concept to wrap your head around, okay? But that is actually, more umber and Paynes Grey than Prussian Blue, even though it looks blue to the eye. But you want that dramatic, stormy blue, right? You don't want it to be a super saturated blue. You want it to be muddy. You want it to be murky. And as you can see, obviously, I've stained my canvas an ochre colour, or an umber colour, I should say. And again, I like having browns as a base. I actually, if you look at someone like M. Francis McCarthy, I was actually asking him maybe about 2-3 weeks ago, how does he do his underpainting? He was saying that he went in usually a la prima, did it wet. That's a really cool, interesting technique, because then the browns are going to be diffusing, at least this is to my mind, diffusing into the other colours to make everything more subdued. However, I like to go in with acrylics, let it dry, okay, so that the brown is still shining through and you definitely still get that tone in there, okay? You definitely still get that tone, but it is, like all dry, okay? And then I'm starting to paint subsequent layers in acrylics and letting them dry. That whole cave is obviously done in acrylics, and I was fucking gosh darn proud of it. I really was. I actually really enjoyed how the cave turned out. And I'm really pleased with this acrylic first thing. I really am. I'm enjoying that right now. And I think most of my painting ideas moving forward, episode 11, episode 12, are gonna be doing this style where I'm gonna be using acrylics. I might even take it further and do, multiple acrylic layers first. Stain my canvas brown, then go in with, some detail work or whatever the focal point is going to be. Then, for example, I was actually swithering with this painting to do the sea with acrylics, but then add detail in with the oils. But then I went, do you know something? No. I love using oil paints when I paint the sea. I love the texture it gives me. And as you can see, this is not, obviously if you've watched my previous videos, you will see that I like painting textured sea, okay? And a lot of the time I'll go in with cold wax, and I'll also go in with a palette knife, or even a baking tool, a big baking paddle, and I'll go in there and I'll just start moving paint around, right? But when it came to this, no. It's a far more subdued effect I'm going for here, I've added in a lot of the paint, just getting it on the canvas with my palette knife. And you will see coming up, I do a bit of detail work with my palette knife, but for the most part, I'm using a fan brush. Okay, fan brushes are great if you want to create sort of choppiness, subdued choppiness in the sea. It's also very good to create sort of waves, rolling waves, curling waves, very, very, very good tool. And also, as you've probably seen in my previous videos also, and with this one, I also use the fan brush extensively to paint clouds by twirling it around, and it creates all these beautiful, incredible shapes, and it just moves the paint around, blends it out in a different way from, for example, a soft 1-inch brush would, which I also use. But fan brushes blend it out more chaotically, and a lot of the time that chaos can actually be very, very useful. Now, so approaching this sort of, I'm just going to call it a causeway. It's not really a causeway, it's more just sort of rocks that are again more in that sort of pillar formation, geological formation, but they're heading towards the cave. It's not quite a causeway, but it's close. As I'm approaching the causeway here, I'm putting a bit of phthalo green into my mixture, my sea mixture. Okay, so it's still got umber in it, it's still got Paynes Grey in it, it's still got Prussian Blue in it, but now I'm adding a little bit of phthalo green to make the water look slightly more thin, transparent. However, it's also just nice to have a little bit of colour and tonal variety in the sea. It's nice. And also the whites that I'm using, although they look white, again, they're not white. they're actually off-white. That's lead white hue with Naples Yellow. As you probably know, I'm a huge fan of Naples Yellow. I use it a lot of the time in conjunction with lead white, just to tint the white a touch so that it's not pure white. Also, Naples Yellow mixed with Phtalo Green gives you a lovely seafoam green colour. It's incredible for waves, it's incredible for aqua scenes, so keep that in mind. And if you watch my previous Painting with Stephen episode where I paint a ginormous big stormy wave, you'll see that I use that colour mixture extensively in that, where I add the Phtalo Green and the Naples Yellow to create this seafoam green colour, surf green, you know. If you're a guitar player, you know, then, you know, like, you know, the Fender Stratocasters and Jazzmasters that came out in the 60s, and they had a colour called surf green, you know, like an old Cadillac, you know, like an old 50s Cadillac. That's the sort of green that you want, you know, a lot of the time when you're painting seascapes. So, yeah, I mean, I actually have a lot of plans for this channel. I've been away in Spain looking after my dad this week, or last week, which is why I didn't release a video. But, you know, I'm back, obviously. I've only been back for like 1 or 2 days, so I've literally done this painting in, you know, 2 days. But, you know, obviously, you know, if you look on my channel, I was doing ambient videos a few years ago, making the CGI for them. I was also doing music, which obviously, you know, I still plan to do tons more music in the future. And, you know, still, you know, obviously plan to put a lot of music on here. But I'm also planning to do philosophy, video essays, videos on ideas, videos on art history, and I'm very, very excited to, you know, really sink my teeth into that. I really am. I'm just chopping at the bit to do that. I've got tons and tons of ideas for what I want to do with videos like that. And, you know, obviously, still am going to aim for a painting video a week. But, you know, also want to add, you know, some philosophy content, some of that stuff too. So, you know, if you're interested in that, please keep an eye out for that moving forward. So, here's the final result. And you know something? I'm happy with it. I am happy with it. You know, very different from Thomas Moran's, yeah? Which it should be. I didn't want to copy it. But yeah, absolutely. I'm very, very happy with it. And yeah. I was really pleased with how this turned out. It was really cool. And I'm probably going to be doing more of this in the future, you know, with the acrylic layers. I just absolutely love it. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this, and thank you for watching, and I will see you for episode 11. Goodbye, and thank you very much.